Oops. Well. Well. What? Well, I got some homework from Wrestling for Fans, and I have to answer 5 questions. 1. Would a heel Hulk Hogan back in the 90s work? 2. Would we even have an NWO? 3. Uh, 3. Would the fans buy it? 4. How long would it last? And 5. Would WCW have beat Raw in the ratings for 83 weeks in a row? I'm here to answer all those questions, so let's get right into it with the first question. Now, at WrestleMania 9, where Brett faced Yoko for the belt and Brett lost to Yoko, then Hogan came out, challenged Yoko, big boot, leg drop, end of Yoko's reign. And I do have to thank Wrestling for Fans for telling me this tidbit. But the tidbit that he told me is that Bruce Pritchard actually pitched the idea of, after Hogan won the belt, of turning Hogan heel. So, question number 1. Would it work? I don't think so. But then again, the WWF crowd had always been they had always been accustomed to the red and yellow. So I still don't think it would work, because Vince was obviously pushing Hogan as the ultimate babyface, so I think he would have shot it down anyway. But as far as the fans go, I think it could. Because then you probably wouldn't even get that. You'd probably even get more heat from WWF fans than the WCW fans. Question number 2. Would we even have an NWO? If Hogan turned heel, well, wait. If Hogan turned heel, that means that he wouldn't have dropped the belt to Yoko at King of the Ring of that same year. Well, not that same year, but Let's see. Hogan left in 93. 94 he showed up in WCW. So 91, 92. He would not have been able to drop it to Yoko because there was no way for Yoko to turn babyface. So that would mean that so that would mean his only choice would have been to either drop it to Taker, drop it to Brett, which Brett says that was the original plan, which didn't really make any sense because Yoko was the champion. So let's go with Hogan versus Brett.
Thanks for calling. Why are you with me? Good. How are you? Are you with me because you're afraid if you break up with me, I'll screw up the adoption?
I could see Hogan getting some guys together and beating down Brett, so much so that Brett, before the
I was going over your paperwork and I literally considered postponing the final hearing because I was afraid as soon as it happened, you would leave me.
Before the
I was going to break up with you right now. So you agree? We shouldn't see each other anymore.
Before the Heart Foundation 2.0, Brett would have had to have formed it earlier. So that could mean that Brett could have Owen, Bulldog, Pillman, Neidhart. He could have the he could have the Heart Foundation watch his back. As far as what the group would be named, let's see, heel. The only thing I can think of is having the NWO come to the WWE, the World Wrestling Federation, before because Nash and Hall would still be there. And I say three men have Hogan, Hall, and Nash. It would have been Hogan, Diesel, and Razor taking on the Heart Foundation. So they wouldn't have been able to call themselves the Outsiders.
Above a sea of garlicky goodness, the new garlic Parmesan crust for just $10. Only at Papa John's.
I know I'm spending a lot of time on this. But I'm trying to think.
We've gotten lazy.
Trying to think of heel name.
So move more, live more.
You know,
Degree motion sense made to move.
it wouldn't have been the new. They couldn't name themselves the New World Order because the New World Order was all about former WWF guys seeking revenge on the WWF and finding success elsewhere. So, how about the Blackhearts? Yeah, let's name them the Blackhearts. So, the Blackhearts go up against the Hart Foundation, and Hogan realizes 3. Hold on. Brett, Bulldog, Tillman, Neidhart, Owen. 3 on 5. They're 2 men. They're 2 men down. So Macho could turn heel because he was still wrestling at the time. And 2, the second, could have been Ric Flair. So you have Hogan, Diesel, Razor, Flair, and Savage all coming together against the Hart Foundation. And the Hart Foundation would be baby faces, so this would work. Because the crowd would be so ticked off at Hogan. So, how long would the heel turn last? Well,
I traded her for you. Oh my God, we're idiots. I know. We're gonna die a little worse. We're gonna die with each other. I will. Don't delete.
Well, how long would it last?
Surprise! I'm so sorry. I thought you were an intruder. But how did you get in my apartment?
Beginning of 94. Because here's the thing. Because there are some key variables here. Nash and Hall were out of the company by the end of 93. Then they went over to WCW in the early parts of 94. You had Hogan who left.
Hi, my girlfriend is about to leave for San Francisco. Francisco, and I have a ticket on the 7:35 flight. Unfortunately, there's only one seat left, and that's in first class. Oh, how much is it? $1,100. Oh, go to hell. You know what, Karen? Is it possible that someone who already has a coach seat could be bumped for some reason? Or say, if I
lost my train of thought.
Give you 10 reasons.
So
5 reasons back.
Hogan. So Diesel and Razor would still be there, but there's no. Well, Flair would have to go to WCW at the end of his. He could jump after the WrestleMania. And Savage, if Vince would not put him back on commentary, he could stay. So I say his heel turn lasts about 3 months.
Psoriasis and eczema. It's an honor to tell you that Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance.
3 months after WrestleMania 2. Now for the fifth and final question. Would WCW have dominated the ratings for 83 weeks in a row? I don't think so. Because it was only because of Bischoff and Hogan's idea to form the NWO in the first place that had WCW beat Raw in the ratings for 83 weeks in a row. In fact, I think it'd be the exact opposite. Raw beats WCW 83 weeks in a row, and that causes Bischoff to think of something. But wait. If all this would to have happened, hold on. Would we ever had the Attitude Era? I'm Hardcore Christopher. Keep it hardcore, everyone.